Training Camp Live, presented by Ford, is brought to you by Betfred, Bud Light Seltzer, Ford, and by USAA.
It's been 8 months since we saw the Broncos last on a football field, a Week 17 win over the Oakland Raiders, 16-15. That capped a 4-1 season for Drew Locke, and Locke and company are back now onto the field with some familiar faces and some new ones as we kick off another era in Broncos history. Welcome into the Broncos Training Camp Live, presented by Ford. I'm Matt Boyer, Sidney Jones, Phil Milani, Steve Atwater, and a special guest will be along shortly. But a couple of orders of business to get out of the way. Obviously, you can see the masks. You can see the empty berm behind me. No fans this year at training camp. A lot of different protocols because of COVID-19 going on. Limited access to media, limited staffing, the players having to go through some things. So that doesn't mean we're not going to give you the same great coverage we do every single year. As a matter of fact, things are going to be a little bit expanded this year. We're going to go from a 20-minute show that you've seen in recent years to a 60-minute show. We'll also have virtual fans welcoming the players out onto the field. Every single day, the players will see through a screen right by the door. Dalton Reisner flexing there. Noah Fant, Philip Lindsay also giving the fans some love. So there's going to be plenty of ways that you can get involved and stay involved with your favorite team during Broncos camp. Now, we're going to be having Steve Atwater helming our coverage all training camp long, And that means that Steve is going to be having a special guest every single day. When the Gold Jacket calls, as Steve is now a Pro Football Hall of Famer, when the Gold Jacket calls, these Bronco legends are answering, and we have a great slate of guests to take you all the way up through to the regular season. Now, let's get you up to speed on a couple of things that have been going on at the training facility for the last couple of weeks. The rookies, injured players, and quarterbacks, or the guys coming off of injury, I should say, got here on July 28th and have been slowly ramping things up with workouts and on-field work with walkthroughs. The veterans joined the party on August the 1st. That meant guys like Vaughn Miller, A.J. Boye, Justin Simmons, they all had to go through the same protocols, and now everybody is on the field together in a practice-like situation for the first time starting today. Now, that's going to be a huge, heavy lift with regards to the content that we're going to be bringing you, so we had to bring in reinforcements. We already mentioned Steve, and we mentioned the special guest. Today, we had to go big. It's day one, so we had to get a Ring of Famer. And this special guest played 180 games for the Denver Broncos in his 12-year career. That's 5th best all-time on the Broncos' careers game list. He was also elected to 6 Pro Bowls and is a member of the 2001 Broncos Ring of Fame class. Number 77 is here, joining Steve Atwater today. It's Karl Mecklenburg. Let's send things down to Karl and Steve. And Steve, I noticed we got 14 Pro Bowls between the two of you down there on that stage. We had to upgrade the stage. It looks like you guys are going to perform after training camp. It looks like you got the best view in the house, my friend.
Yeah, we do have. We have a wonderful view right here, and this is for our special guest, Mr. Karl Mecklenburg.
Nice.
Thank you, Matt, for that great introduction. Karl, thank you so much for being here with us today. Got the best seat in the house.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, sitting in the shade. Don't have to put my helmet on. It's perfect. Yeah. No, this is wonderful.
Yes. Now, Training Camp Live, brought to you by Ford. Karl, did you think you would even be able to watch any of training camp this year?
No. I was under the assumption that no fans, no retired guys hanging around, just from a COVID standpoint. But it's nice to come down here. I remember the first day of camp every single year. You gotta make the team. There's 80 guys out here right now, and at the end of training camp, there's going to be 50 guys on the roster.
Yes.
That's close to half of these guys aren't going to make the team, and what they do in this short period of time is going to determine whether they're going to be Denver Broncos or they're not.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have a little bit of an expanded roster this year. They're going to have more guys that are available for the practice squad. So that will be a benefit to a lot of the guys who are probably on the back end of the roster. So that should help out just a tad bit. So, Karl, back in the day, what was your first training camp? Was like, what do you think a lot of these young guys who, the Jerry Judys, the KJ Hamlers, the Albert O, the tight end, Lloyd Cushenberry, what do you think is going through their mind right now?
Yeah, I think just great excitement, the opportunity to fulfill a dream, and at this point they haven't played football. They've done drills. They've looked at film. They've been in the weight room. They've kind of sized each other up from that standpoint. But they haven't played football, and they're not going to play football today. I was the 310th pick of the draft, so I had the same number as a starter when I came in to training camp.
Two players on the same team had the same number.
Well, 110 guys were at training camp back in the day, right? So a bunch of guys. So when you got the same number as a starter, you're not real confident. So
right.
I remember that first training camp. I got a hole in my sock, and I went in to get a new pair of socks, and I asked the equipment manager, can I get a new pair of socks? And he said, well, what's the matter with the other sock?
I already know how that went.
He only gave me one sock. I knew where I stood.
So you're the second number 77 on the team. You can't have a pair of socks.
Right. I had to wear my shoes from college. They wouldn't give me a pair of football cleats.
Oh, man. So as a guy who played many years in the league, had tremendous amounts of success, what would you say to these young guys when they're preparing for training camp, preparing for their career, starting out on this journey?
The thing that made me a good football player, and I think that makes a good football player a great football player, is decisiveness. It's ability to let yourself go as soon as you know what's happening. And I truly believe that if you can pick up the playbook and understand it and allow yourself to go, then your athleticism can show. I was not a great athlete. Like I said, I was the 310th pick of the draft. That was based on athleticism. But they can't measure decisiveness. If you can take the first step in the right direction before anybody else does, all the angles change in your favor, you can make the play. And that's the thing that you don't be hesitant. Trust yourself, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not on that edge. You got to be able to go when it's time to go.
Yeah, I do find that a lot of times people are afraid to make mistakes, so they're so hesitant. So, Karl, you saw this team last year. What areas do you want to see this team improve in this year?
Last year they really didn't have much of a pass rush, and part of that is because you're behind.
Coming from a defensive guy.
Right. But part of that is because you're behind a lot, so the team can run the ball and control the ball with short passes and that stuff. But if you can pressure the quarterback in passing situations, you got a great chance to be successful as a defense. All of a sudden, the coverage looks better, and when the coverage is better, then all of a sudden the pass rush looks better, and it's a coordination thing.
We had Bradley Chubb here too, so that
right.
That
yeah, I mean, I had the great pleasure of playing with Rulon Jones for quite a while, and with Simon Fletcher for quite a while, and anytime you have two dominant pass rushers coming at the same time, the offense can't slide one way or the other to take care of the pass rush threat. They got to choose, and I had that opportunity with both of those guys, great pass rushers, and because they were worried about them, they forgot about me.
Right. You got the chance to get all the sacks.
Right, there you go.
Well, Karl, let's dig into this roster a little bit. With Drew Locke, had a 4-1 record at the end of the year last year, hurt his thumb earlier in the season, wasn't able to play, but was able to learn under kind of the tutelage of Joe Flacco. What are you expecting from him? What areas does he need to improve in? We got him some weapons in the draft, so I'm looking for big things from him. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, I love his character, his leadership, his approach to the game. You can just see from the sidelines or from even on television that this guy is into the game. He's supporting his teammates. He's excited when things go well. He's resolute when things don't go well, and he's digging in. The other thing that really to me was impressive was that he was able to do, like you said, to learn under somebody else's tutelage. That's a hard thing to do in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. So all of a sudden they bring in a new offensive coordinator. My understanding is when he played college football, he had a different offensive coordinator every year.
Yes.
And so he's used to making those switches, and he's able to make it without being on the field and taking every reps. I mean, when you're the backup quarterback on an NFL team, you're running scout team. You're not taking any reps. They're getting ready for the game, right? So he was able to learn the system and come in and go for one at the end of the year without any real reps before that, which to me is an amazing thing. If anybody's going to be able to excel through this COVID period where you're not going to have as many practices, you're not going to have as many preseason, you're not going to have any preseason games, you're not going to be going live, you're going to have to learn virtually.
Yeah.
I think it's Drew Locke. I mean, he's proven that already with his rookie year.
Yeah, he did. He did show that. Right now on the field, we got special teams. It looks like they're working on kickoff coverage. And
my first play in the NFL. We're playing against Pittsburgh. Somebody had gotten fired or hurt or something, so I got to run down on kickoff. I'd never run down on kickoff in college, and most of these guys probably have never run down on kickoff because they're a great player.
Superstars,
right? They were stars in college,
yeah.
and they probably were stars in high school too, right? They're not running down on kickoffs.
Right.
So I'm running down the kickoff, and I look up at the ball. Don't look up at the ball. Well, if I could tell these guys one thing, don't look up at the ball.
Did you get your clock clean?
Oh, a little running back hit me right under the chin. The first thing to hit was the back of my helmet on the turf, and my feet were up in the air, and it was "Welcome to the NFL, kid."
Oh, that hurts. That hurts now.
Just laid me out.
And many times I had this conversation with some of my buddies last year. The higher draft picks, they won't be on special teams. And I know back in the day, I played on special teams.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably more for the offensive players. They want to make sure those guys don't get banged up too badly. But, I thought Noah Fant would be on a special team, maybe the punt team or something. But because I think he did so well playing the tight end position, they said, nah, we're gonna keep you off special teams. We're gonna make sure you do your job as a tight end.
Well, if you look historically, there's been a number of guys who have really made the team on kickoff coverage or on special teams. I mean, Terrell Davis. Yeah. I mean, actually, for me, I had a big hit on a special teams play against Atlanta early in that first year and really opened some eyes around what I was doing. It was back when they could run the wedge, and the wedge was coming.
Oh man!
And I
Did you bust the wedge?
I went over the wedge and submarine the running back.
That's
so
dangerous.
yeah. But I just blew it up from that stamp. So there are opportunities to show what you can do, and special teams is vital. If you can be a top special teams guy early on, then they'll look at you and work and teach you how to play your position.
Now, there are some positions that are kind of off limits for special teams. Like, you generally wouldn't see any quarterbacks doing anything on special teams unless they're the holder for when you're doing field goals and that.
Yeah.
But are there any other positions that you can think of that?
Not really.
It's everybody else's fair game.
The more you can do, the more you can do, the more valuable you are to the team. Like you said, they're going to have some guys on the scout team or on the backup role who just have to be able to do special teams or have to do something to help the team out. So those are the guys that the difference between being a professional athlete and not being a professional athlete is what they do on these teams.
Yeah, they're just showing Tom McMahon. We just saw Tom McMahon on the screen, the special teams coach. He is looking for, players at all positions. Special teams coaches, they want to get the best players out there on the field for special teams.
Sure.
And, he'll poach some guys who don't want to necessarily be poached, but I think that makes his job that much easier.
I was on special teams through my 5th year.
Yeah.
I was playing in the Pro Bowl and on special teams. That was a big piece of winning and losing football games. I finally got taken off of special teams. I'm covering a kickoff. The running back went out of bounds. They blew the whistle, but the blocker didn't hear him blow the whistle. So I'm letting up, and this guy speared me right in the sternum. Knocked my heart out of rhythm. I'm in the hospital for 3 days in atrial fib because I got speared. And Dan said, we should probably take Karl off of special teams.
Yes, that's not good. That's not good. Well, I'm glad you made it back from that.
I'm back, man. Yeah, I played the next week. It's a different game.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, just so everyone out there knows, we're going to have a poll on Facebook where our fans will be able to select some players that they want to see for the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. Karl, who are some players that you want to see, that you think the fans will want to see?
A guy who really impressed me last year was Alexander Johnson.
Linebacker, yes.
That thing I was talking about, that decisiveness, that I saw that in him repeatedly last year. He was making plays in the backfield at the line of scrimmage. He'd see the hole before the running back saw the hole and would fill the hole. And that to me is the essence of being a good inside linebacker, being able to identify the play, understand where they're trying to go, and be there before the back is.
And then when he gets there, he comes he's bringing everything with him too. He's a big guy too.
Yeah, he's going to tackle him. He doesn't miss tackles.
Yeah. Any other guys who you think the fans may want to see as well?
Obviously the rookies. KJ Hamler,
Jerry Jeudy,
yes. The tight end, I think is gonna have a big impact. Having 2 threats at tight end is I think almost imperative in today's game.
I bet it. I would also say if the fans were given the choice, they would say they want to see Drew Locke as well.
Well, there you go. That goes without saying, right?
Yes,
the quarterback
normally
is always
everybody wants to see Drew Locke there. We see in the screen there KJ Hamler, the speedy wide receiver from Penn State. Everyone's expecting him to possibly be the the third receiver in that slot position because of his size and his speed and his ability to really get open from that slot position. He can really be a dangerous weapon for Drew Locke. But, man, there's going to be a lot of competition, I believe, for that third wide receiver position, although I don't think Jerry Jeudy will necessarily be running with the ones to start. By the time training camp, I'm definitely expecting him to be with the ones.
Yeah, that's always kind of a touchy situation. You've got guys who have put in the time, guys who, our veterans have played in the league and understand what the game is about. And then you got a rookie coming in who's got great talent, but do they have it mentally yet? And that's good. The challenge of the top round draft picks is you could make it by on straight athleticism in college.
Yeah.
You got to know what you're doing in the pros.
Yeah, you see Courtland Sutton and Deshaun Hamilton there. Courtland Sutton, as you know, the superstar. He's going into his 3rd year last year. Man, he had numbers off the charts, 1,112 yards, 6 touchdowns, made the Pro Bowl for his first year. And then we see Deshaun Hamilton there, who I think is going to be in a battle this year with a guy who went to the same school that he attended. He went to Penn State, and also that's the same school that KJ Hamler went to, and they played together. So it's going to be interesting because they have a great relationship, but it's going to be interesting to see how that battle unfolds as camp progresses.
Yeah. Cream will rise to the top, that's the thing about football. You get your opportunities, and when you have those opportunities to shine, you've got to shine. My first my very first preseason game, we're playing Seattle, which was, at the time was in our conference, so we played them twice a year, and we actually, so that year we played them 3 times, and I was in the game in the third quarter. For some reason, their starting tackle was still in the game in the third quarter. I don't know if he was overweight or they were mad at him or what was going on, but he was still in the game. And I got 2 sacks and forced a fumble. Elway, who was the first-round pick that year, was the 300 or was the offensive player of the game, and I was the defensive player of the game, and basically made the team on that opportunity to play against one of the conference's starting tackles, and I made the team as a third-down pass rush and a special teams player. It wasn't until my third year with the Broncos that they switched me to linebacker, and things really took off for me. But that opportunity, along with being able to play special teams, really cemented my position on the team at the time.
Right. Now we're showing the linebackers. Now they're taking a little bit of a water break, but they were just doing a drill where they were basically running up and tackling the dummy. What's the purpose of that drill, Karl, when the coach is holding the dummy and, everybody knows that the players can tackle the dummy? What is the purpose of it, though?
Well, it's to drive your legs. One of the tenets of tackling is come inside out, and then drive your legs on contact. If you stop your legs, an NFL running back is going to bounce off you and keep going. If you drive your legs through contact, then you gotta, you're gonna make the tackle. So that way you won't bounce off. So the coach just wants to make sure that they're driving their legs on contact.
Oh man, that can be scary sometimes if a guy is running at you full speed and. Heck, you got to run into him full speed.
Says a guy who just knocked Christian McCoy.
but I mean, what does that say about a person that does were we crazy, Karl?
No, you know what?
I mean, because most people couldn't do that.
No, you're right. Most people couldn't do that, and that's part of the makeup of a defensive football player. If you don't have that inside of you, you're not going to get to this point. You can't be afraid. This is football, man. It's no holds barred, right? You can run through people. That's the fun part about it, right?
I agree. Hey, we're going to throw it over to Phil Milani. I think he has Coach Vic Fangio. Phil, what you got there for us, my friend?
Thank you very much, Steve. We're here with Broncos head coach Vic Fangio. Vic, excited to get things ramped up here with the whole team out together for the first time. What was your message to the team on how they should attack the next several weeks here?
Well, number one, we don't have several weeks, so time's of the essence. So we got to feel the urgency of this squeezed-in training camp with great focus and feel the urgency of the short time we have and get as much done as we can.
The guys have been here for a few weeks now, though. How have you seen them embrace these COVID protocols and really adapt to the new norm?
I think they've done a great job with it. Obviously we haven't been perfect probably, but I think everybody's on board with following the rules and regulations of the COVID, and I don't see it as a problem.
Obviously, this camp has a different feel to it right now. We're used to fans out there on that berm. How much are you going to miss that energy?
Definitely miss the fans. I've noticed it just watching sporting events on TV, golf, baseball, and the basketball. It is definitely different without the fans. We always knew how important the fans were, but this just shows how important they are. And we miss them being out here and being part of it because they are a big part of sports.
We need some virtual fans out here, huh?
We need some real fans out here. But we'll take virtual if that's all we got.
All right, thanks, Coach. I appreciate your time. Let's send things over to our newest team reporter, Sydney Jones.
Thanks for that, Phil. Some great insight there from Coach Fangio. If you want to hear more from Coach Fangio, he'll be talking to the media later today, and we'll be live streaming that on our Twitter and Facebook, so you can tune in for that. All right, Broncos fans, if you are just now tuning in, we are doing a social media giveaway today. We're giving away a prize of this signed football by the one and only Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and Ring of Famer Karl Mecklenburg. Now, in order to win this football, you must be following the Broncos on Twitter, and you must retweet their post about this giveaway. Now, we'll be selecting that giveaway person later on today in the show, so make sure to stay tuned. All right, let's get back to training camp now. I want to talk about this Broncos secondary, a hard-hitting, intimidating group for sure. You got Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, AJ Boye, Bryce Callahan is back. Now, our camera guys were able to go behind the scenes with them and follow them around for what we like to call a day in the life in the DBs.
What's up, Broncos Country? It's Justin Simmons here.
What's up, Broncos Country? AJ Boye here.
Kareem Jackson, a.k.a. Jack Boy.
Want to give you guys a behind-the-scenes look of what really goes down.
First day of helmet, a little bit of excitement, not just working out and meeting.
Where you sneak in from?
Broncos Country. This is probably one of my favorite things we got going on. We call it the bodega. My boy Brett hooking us up. 2 eggs scrambled with turkey. Thank you.
I'm training room right now, getting ready before practice. You know what it is. Stay ready. So you ain't got to get ready.
Put my little gizmo, as Coach Fangio would call it, away.
Hope you enjoyed following the DBs for the day, seeing what training camp is all about.
And then now, getting ready to head home and do it all again tomorrow.
All fun and games with that group of DBs always. Now, that was just a little blurb of their day. So if you want to see their full day and the full video, you can check it out on the Broncos social media sites. Now, I had a chance to catch up with CBS Sports and NFL Network's Nate Burleson, where I asked him about his thoughts on this young Denver team. And one thing that he told me was that the hype around this team is no joke.
I know you and your Good Morning Football crew have talked a lot about this young Denver team. You specifically picked the Broncos as one of your top 5 bandwagon teams this season. Tell me a little bit about that. Why are the Broncos number 3 on your list?
Well, there's a lot of buzz surrounding the team. And usually when there's buzz, you got to pull back the curtain a little bit. And being that I've been on teams before that have been overlooked and all of a sudden we saw people hop on the bandwagon, I know how to peel back the layers and see if there's real excitement or if there's just false enthusiasm. And this isn't just chatter. I mean, the young quarterback, Drew Locke, fantastic talent. It's not just him rapping on the sideline, but it's how he uses that arm, how he moves in the pocket, and also how guys older than him look at him as a leader. The wide receiver core. I'm a big fan of Courtland Sutton, huge fan. You know, they got Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. So they have these individuals that are going to start to round out this wide receiver core and the running backs. I was on TV, and I don't know if I was getting caught up in the Broncos' excitement, but I just blurted out that they'll be the best duo. That you look at what Philip Lindsay, he was able to do and really become a household name from obscurity. And Melvin Gordon, he has a lot to prove. And I've always said there's nothing more motivating than trying to prove yourself and prove your worth. And I mean that with a capital W financially. I know Melvin Gordon still wants to get paid. So for all those reasons, and I haven't even touched on the defense yet, that's why I'm excited about the Broncos.
Now, Nate and I dived more into that defense later in the interview, so if you want to check out the whole thing, you can find it on denverbroncos.com. Now, this school year looks a lot different for students going back to school, whether that's going to be virtual or in the classroom. But the Broncos are still doing their Back to Learning program. This program consists of giving school supplies to different school districts within the state of Colorado and to different families and different students. Now that we have partnered with Volunteers of America, King Soopers, and 9 News to make that happen. So if you want more information on that and how to support, you can look for that on denverbroncos.com. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, you'll be joined here again by Steve Atwater and Karl Mecklenburg.
Training Camp Live, presented by Ford, is brought to you by BetMGM, Bud Light, UC Health, and by U.S. Bank.
Yes, welcome back to Training Camp Live, presented by Ford. Man, Karl Mecklenburg, we are living the life today, man.
Sitting in the shade, got a drink up here.
Yes, we have no complaints at all. Karl, I was listening to Nate Burleson, and Nate Burleson, he was so enthusiastic. He was so confident that this Broncos team is going to make a big jump from last year. He mentioned Courtland Sutton. He mentioned Jerry Jeudy. He mentioned the coaches. Do you think there's anything to that, or you think he's just trying to butter us up? I believe him. I believe him. I'm with him. I feel the same way.
Yeah, it's winning is a habit in the same way that losing is a habit. I think they need to get over the hump. I think ending the season the way they ended the season last year was a huge step. I also think being the second year of this coaching staff is going to help a lot. There's been a turnover of players, and that's one of the challenges when you come into a situation and the team's already there. You have a certain expectation as a coach that these are the guys that I want, that have these abilities, that have this mentality, and if they're not already there, then you've got to bring in your guys, and it seems like Coach Fangio has been working on that, and they're getting more and more leader type guys who are going to play full blast the whole game and do it in a way that reflects Bronco teamwork in the past.
Yeah. Second year, Mike Munchak coming in, second year as the offensive lines coach. Unfortunately, Jawan James opted out, but we all understand that, hey, every individual player has to make decisions for themselves and their families. But, Elijah Wilkinson, I think, is the guy who will win that starting right tackle position. And I think that, it probably won't become a battle with the DeMar Dotson. That's the guy that we brought in that has played in Tampa, I think, for 11 or 12 years. I don't think it'll be a big competition unless Elijah or Garrett Bowles isn't playing up to their potential.
Yeah, and you're going to need guys. I mean, that position, offensive line, you're in contact every single play. Guys get banged up. There's going to be opportunities for everybody on the active roster to get in the game and show what they can do. So, and I'm excited that offensive line is kind of coming together. I think a big piece of that too is the system. Mm-hmm. If you're throwing to the tight ends, if you're throwing to the backs, if you don't have to pass block waiting for the wide receivers to get all the way down the field every time, it's easier for an offensive line.
Let's you mentioned running back. Let's talk about that. We heard Nate Burleson mention the running backs, and the Broncos brought in Melvin Gordon, who has played his entire career up to now with the Los Angeles Chargers. What is that competition like? What is that competition going to be like for Philip Lindsay, and how do you see those two running backs working together?
I think they're very different. I think they're going to be complementary.
Yes.
Philip Lindsay is a big play, game breaker kind of running back, where Gordon's more of a, 5 yards in a cloud of dust, break a couple tackles, run up the middle guy, a guy who's great at catching the ball out of the backfield, a guy that's as good as there is in the league at blocking pass protection from the backfield. So they're just different types of running backs. I think they're going to both have a chance to shine this year.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Many people would say, okay, why did they bring Melvin Gordon in, especially having a guy who really arguably had 2 Pro Bowl years. He went to the Pro Bowl his first year as a rookie, first college free agent, I think, to make it to the Pro Bowl as a running back. Tell me, Carl, what's going through his mind, and like how would you have responded if the team had brought in someone, you're a free agent, had a ton of success, and they brought in a guy from another team who has had success?
Welcome to the NFL. Keith Traylor Ricky Hunley.
Yes.
First-round draft picks they drafted while I was playing inside linebacker to take my job. And I mean, it's just, that's the way it is, And Lindsey's not a big guy. He had an injury last year. You can't. The team doesn't shut down because you're out. Hopefully you got somebody else who can cover for you and can play. So they're both going to have to play well, and each of them will get opportunities to prove that they should be the starter. Obviously, probably the higher paid guy is going to be the starter at the start of the year, but that only lasts so long.
Hey, you never know, and that's my take on it as well. Players have to understand that these NFL teams, they're trying to improve in any way they can. And if they can bring a person in and have two guys that can contribute, especially the running back position, the guys are going to take poundings anyway. So they want to have as much competition to give themselves the best chance to win. And there's no disrespect to the player. That's just a part of the NFL, just like you mentioned. And I think we are going to be a better team with Melvin Gordon here. And Phillip Lindsay, and I'm just hoping that they're able to gel really well in the locker room, and I think they will. I think that they both have the right mindset. They're going to go out there and push each other, and at the end of the day, on Sundays, they're going to both try to win ball games.
Yep, no question about it. It's a team sport, and if you're worried about your own statistics and you're worried about your own stuff, it doesn't work. It's going to be a better room. It's going to be there's going to be more running yardage this year than there was last year because of both of them being there.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit quarterback. Drew. Okay. All right, so the fans from our Facebook poll, Carl, who did you say you wanted to see? You said you want to see Alexander Johnson.
I said AJ.
Unfortunately, the fans didn't agree with you, Mac.
Well, I always see things from a defensive standpoint, right?
Hey, yes. Well, I guess most of the fans, they want to put up points, and they want to see number 14, Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton came in last year. He had an amazing year. Like I said, he led all receivers with 72 targets. Had 1,112 yards, which is the most on the team, and also 6 receiving touchdowns. It's his career best in 2019, which just his second year in the league. And he caught passes from 3 different quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, Brandon Allen, and Drew Locke. As you know, he's a big physical receiver. Those 50-50 balls become like 90-10 balls when they throw it to him, and he's such a great player. And back to Drew Locke. He ended up the season last year on a really good note. He went 4-1. Didn't have such a great showing the Kansas City Chiefs game, but hey, the weather was bad. We'll give him a pass.
The offensive linemen all had the flu. I mean, there was some stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on there. But I'm with you, Carl. I love kind of his swagger, his mentality, and the guys on the team, they believe that Drew Locke is the guy that can help get them over the hump. Now they just all got to go out there and learn this offensive system and make plays.
I could say the same thing about Cortland Sutton. The thing that impressed me the most about him last year was how he stood up to Sanders and when Sanders wasn't right and was a leader from that standpoint. Yeah. That's a hard thing to do as a teammate, for a young guy. Especially for a young guy. He took it upon himself to do the right thing, and that to me shows a lot about that young man, and I'm glad the fans picked him. I mean, he's a guy that's going to be a leader here, and it's about the team. That in and of itself makes a huge difference in this league. If you can sacrifice for the team and do the right thing for the team day in and day out, the team is going to be better.
Yeah, and what a great situation for the young receivers to come into a room that has a guy like a Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick, Deshaun Hamilton, guys who are known leaders to kind of learn under and be guided. So I know that those guys will give them, everything that they have, and they'll try and make it to where they can go out and play just as well as the starters do. So
sure, and they can relate to Drew Locke, who's the same kind of guy.
Yes.
You know, if you're on the same page, I mean, when you look at the teams that we played on together, with yourself and Dennis Smith in the backfield, and me and the other linebackers and the front line. It was about winning games, you know. However we got it done, and it was not about personal statistics, and it never was. And when you can sacrifice for each other, you build that camaraderie where 25 years later we're still buddies, right?
Exactly.
Because we've been through it together, and I know you're gonna do what's best for the team, and you know the same thing about me.
Yeah. And I think that is the thing that I think sometimes as younger players you don't look that far ahead. You know, you're just in the moment. But just know, man, your players will remember you for how you show up in the building. If you show up as a selfish person who is not giving good effort, everybody sees it. They're going to know it, and you know it'll hurt you in the long run. And it'll shorten your career. And fortunately, we have a bunch of good guys in this locker room. You know, I love what Von Miller had to say in his interview, just about he saw what happened to Kobe, and you know, heard watched some stories on him and Michael Jordan, just their mentality, and he's bringing that mentality into the locker room. And I know that can't do anything but help.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He saw that with DeMarcus Ware too. You know, he's seen that through the years.
Yes, good point.
It's a hard thing. You know, if I have one regret from my career here with the Broncos, it was that I didn't pick up that leadership mantle as quickly as I could have.
Mm-hmm.
I probably didn't mentor the young players as much as I could have.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the things that happened in those 12 years, that's the one thing I would change.
Oh, really? Wow. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Learn something new every day. Thanks for dropping that nugget on me, Karl Mecklenburg. Hey, we showing Drew Locke there walking across this field with the swagger that he has. What is it about Drew Locke that the guys, not necessarily the player, but the coaches have the confidence to go out and spend 2 early draft picks on the wide receiver position to surround him with players that are going to make the team better?
You know, just his showing last year at the end of the year, I think it's really hard to identify how someone's going to react when the lights are on out here in practice. You know, there are guys who are unbelievable practice players, but when the lights go on, they can't do it, right? They just can't. And there are other guys who look terrible out here. that they're really the ones that get on the field. There was a guy named Shane Droney who used to play. He was a horrible practice player, but he was a really good game player.
Yes.
And Drew Locke, you know, when it's time to make a play, he's made the plays, and that's a hard thing to get, especially in an NFL caliber quarterback, a guy with a great arm, a guy with a great attitude, and you know, shines when the lights are on. So I'm excited about him, and I'm a long way away. Imagine you're in the room and you know your job depends on this kid,
right?
and yeah, I'd be excited about him too.
Yeah, and you know the defenders who go up against him. You've heard Von Miller say really positive things about him. And Justin Simmons, who showing in the screen in the picture there now, they have confidence, and their futures are riding on this too, right?
Of course.
And for them to put their confidence in Drew Locke, it really says a lot about what Drew Locke has done in terms of coming in, earning the guys' respect by working hard. When he comes out here in the field, he knows what the heck he's doing. He's not, you know, calling plays, saying, "Wait, time out, coach. I don't know what the play is." He knows he's prepared, and
right. He paid his dues too. I mean, you sit on the bench, you ride the bench, and you know you don't hear anything in the press. You don't. I mean, the kid rode the bench last year until he got his shot, and when he got his shot, he took advantage of it.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be done in the NFL, and he came in and like I said, paid his dues, and I think the players respect him from that standpoint too.
Yeah, we just got They got the tight ends in the picture there. Man, that's a loaded group, those tight ends. We have already Noah Fant. We brought in Nick Burnett. We drafted Albert O. And we also have Jake Butt on the roster. And Austin Ford and
Fumagalli, right?
Troy Fumagalli. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you expect out of that tight ends room, man? That's going to be exciting to see who wins that battle.
It'll be the last man standing, right? They all get hurt. It's one of those, you know.
They can all get hurt.
Well, I know, but each of them has had challenges that way. I think that that you've got to have a threat at tight end to be successful in today's NFL. And it always has been that way. I mean, if you could have a threat at tight end, have a great receiver, have a great running back, as a linebacker, you can't overload one thing or another. As a coverage defense, you can't say, all right, we take away the tight end and we get these guys, or we take away their running game and we get them. No, if you've got all three, and it's the old. That's the way the Broncos won the Super Bowl, right? Over and over and over again. You got Shannon Sharp, you got Eddie McCaffrey and Rod Smith, and you got Terrell Davis. There's no choice. Any choice you make is a wrong choice as a defensive player. So that's what they need. And they need somebody to stand up and make those plays. And you saw, you saw them happen last year at the end of the season. The big plays from the tight end position, and hopefully that'll continue this year with this group, and maybe from more than one guy.
I agree. We started the team period. Man, it's so nice to see everybody back out here on the
field. Look at 55 is playing.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Man, Drew Locke rolled out to the right on the first play and completed the pass to Courtland Sutton. Oh, man, football is back, Carl.
There it is. Yep. I don't think you need a mouth guard in yet, though.
No, not yet.
It's still a little touch football, but
you gotta ramp up to that.
They got some different guys in the starting lineup. See 96 in there. There's a couple of different guys.
Yeah, that's Shelby Harris.
Shelby Harris, yeah. Right? Yeah, and he played some last year, but he didn't start. 93's in there. Yeah. But they've got some. I'm excited about seeing what the veteran players they brought in at the interior line can do this year. That's been a kind of a. Not so much
offensive line. You talking about Graham Glasgow?
No, I'm talking inside on the defensive
line.
Oh,
Jarrell Casey. Yes.
Jarrell Casey. Yes. I love Derek Wolfe, but Jarrell Casey has been an All-Pro player for years, and a guy that leads his team in sacks, and having Jarrell Casey and Von Miller and Bradley Chubb coming. Man. I mean that's scary.
Yeah, it really is going to be exciting. And Mike Purcell at nose tackle, too. He's been solid. I'm really looking forward to him picking up where he left off. This defense has a lot to be excited about as well. Linebackers, as you mentioned, Alexander Johnson and Ty Davis, who has led the team in tackles the last 3 years at least. He's always around the ball, giving it everything he has.
Yeah, he's a solid young, not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, not the strongest guy, but a guy who understands the game. And when he gets his hands on you, you go down. That's a huge thing for an inside linebacker, because you should lead the team in tackles when you're inside.
Yeah. All right. So, Carl, thank you again, my friend. And Carl, where can people learn more about what you got going on?
Well, they can go to karlmecklenburg.com. I'm a professional speaker. I'm doing virtual speeches now, obviously, but
that's why you're so good at this, man.
No, it's a little different than giving a virtual speech, but it's, you know what, the opportunity to impact people's lives, to inspire long-term positive change is something I've been doing now for 15 years. I love that. The thing I miss most from playing out here on the football field is the adrenaline.
Yeah.
And when you get up in front of a group to give a speech, you try to remember what you meant to say. You get that you get that adrenaline. So I really enjoy my job now.
And you got a book.
I do have a book. It's called Heart of a Student Athlete. All pro advice for competitors and their families. So if you have a young athlete, if you got a grandchild or a niece or a nephew who's just starting out on this trail, I think it's a great read. It's won some national awards, and it talks about the keys to success that I learned in the NFL in the same way that my speeches do. I talk about teamwork, courage, dedication, desire, honesty and forgiveness, and goal setting. Universal, unchanging keys to success that apply not only on the football field but also in life.
Yeah. And hey, you can reach Karl at karlmecklenburg.com and also on Twitter at Karl Mecklenburg.
Karl Mecklenburg, and on Facebook at Karl Mecklenburg, and on LinkedIn at Karl. I'm everywhere.
There we go. We appreciate it, Karl. Hey, we're going to take it over to our guy, Matt Boyer. What you got for us, Matt?
Oh, Steve, thank you very much. Man, what a treat on day one. Karl Mecklenburg and Steve Atwater joining us for training camp. That'll do it for us on today's coverage of Broncos Training Camp Live. But if you want to catch everything that you might have missed today, you can go to denverbroncos.com. We're going to have Coach Fangio's press conference remarks following today's practice, as well as a couple of select players going to our virtual podium. So you can go to denverbroncos.com or the social channels. This evening, though, we will also have an episode of Broncos Country tonight. Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Albright will have Shelby Harris on tonight's show, 6:30 p.m. Mountain, locally here in Denver on Channel 20. You can also catch it at 7 p.m. Mountain on our Broncos YouTube channel. And then, of course, we are back live on Sunday for Broncos Training Camp Live. Steve Atwater will be joined by Orlando Franklin, the right tackle, coming in. So we've got an even split, offense and defense, for Sunday's show. We are off tomorrow, but day one is finally in the books. Football is back. Thank you so much for joining us, Broncos Country. This has been Broncos Training Camp Live, presented by Ford.
Training Camp Live, presented by Ford, has been brought to you by All Copy, Empower Retirement, King Soopers, and FanDuel.